What is pain? Raise your hand if you've ever felt the pain of a really bad toothache. Yes. Raise your hand if you have ever felt financial pain. Raise your hand if you've ever felt heartbreak. There's many different forms of pain, but the one thing about pain is we all feel it. We feel pain in our body. We feel pain emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. What happens with your pain? When you're in pain, do you lean in and tend to your needs? How do you react to pain? Do you get angry? Or maybe quiet and shut down? Do you disconnect and want to be alone when you're in pain? Do you numb out with things that make you feel good? Do you ignore the pain? Or do you hyper-focus on it and end up feeling anxious and overwhelmed? For me, my pain was too scary to face, so I buried it deep down and I ran in the opposite direction, which is what my dad did the year my mom died. We do what we know. It's not common to know how to process pain. We don't talk about our personal pain often. It doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable to see others in pain, and it's even more uncomfortable to allow others to see us in pain. But what if pain connected us all? And what if it was being seen in our pain that was the pathway out of it? The first part of my childhood was like a dream. I didn't realize the uniqueness of my childhood until I grew up. It was such an amazing childhood for me. My mom and dad absolutely adored each other. They supported each other's every move. I was best friends with my 6 brothers and sisters. My mom owned a dance studio, and we all had the same perm. And we traveled around the country performing and competing. We spent summer nights at the lake dancing on the deck of the boat. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like magic. When I was 10 years old, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer and given 6 months to live. It was earth-shattering news. I had never felt pain like that before when I walked into the hospital room after her first surgery. My mom had a lot of fight in her, and she showed up and she fought for us. And we fought for her too. We loved her so much. We took turns staying up at night with her. We would hold her hair back when she was sick after chemo sessions. My dad researched and found an ancient grain that he believed would heal her. He started a whole company named after her. We so badly wanted to save her. At 14 years old, after begging God to save my mother, she died at home, leaving a massive void in our hearts. How do you process that kind of pain when you lose someone you love like that? I stopped trusting God that year. I put a wall up on my heart. And in my darkest hour, I abandoned myself. I started controlling my way through life. I had this desperate need to save the people I love from pain. I couldn't heal my mother, so I put all my focus on controlling everyone else's fate. I took my little brother Stephen under my wings. I did everything to make sure he was okay. He was only 12 when our mother died, and I feel like he suffered the most. When I left for college, Stephen became addicted to drugs, and by 18, he was addicted to heroin. I blamed myself for his pain. I punished myself for years. I experienced my brother at the depths of despair with nothing left to his name, living on the streets. I suffered with him. So badly. I tried so hard to fix his pain, but I couldn't. Have you ever tried to fix the pain of someone you love? Not being in control of my brother's outcome made my need to fix things grow even stronger. Being in charge became my addiction. To have my hands on the wheel and feel that sweet satisfaction when I could say, I did that, I made that happen. I stopped talking to God for fear I would get an answer I didn't want and would have to give up control. Edging God out. Isn't that what the ego is referred to? I thought I knew better than God, and I locked in a pattern of survival that lasted 3 decades. I had this moment where I was ready to become responsible for the pain I was causing myself. And my little brother was in rehab. And the counselor said, "You're not here for your brother, you're here for yourself." And I thought, what is this guy talking about? I'm not addicted to drugs. By the end of the 2-hour session, I realized I was addicted to work. I had loved work since I was 14 years old, but when I started my own business, it was like I had more control there. And so my work became a daily dopamine hit. I had no boundaries with it. I didn't know how to shut it down or be present with my family. I couldn't even eat dinner without being on my phone. I worked 60 hours a week for 10 years straight. I pushed myself brutally hard. I hit this point where I just had this massive burnout because I had to keep increasing my pace because if I slowed down, I felt the pain. We may think that we're hiding our pain, but it will always find a way to express itself. I invite you to ask the question, what addiction is causing me more pain? Dr. Gabor Mate, renowned expert on addiction, says that the major cause of addiction is childhood trauma. He says that your addiction is not the problem. Your addiction was your attempt to solve the problem. The real question is, where did that problem develop? What if going to the root of your pain was your way out of addiction? What if we took away all the shame of addiction to drugs, alcohol, sugar, shopping, gaming, sex, caffeine, Netflix, and we looked at it all as solutions that we created, as painkillers? Do any of those solutions actually heal the pain? What if we found better solutions? Solutions that were pain healers, solutions that helped us process all the way through the pain to become fully free of it. I wanted to free myself from the pain so badly, but I realized in order to do that, I had to face it. I had to stop being so afraid of it. I had to understand pain and why it's even a part of the process of life. This is what I found. Pain is a stimulator of growth. Pain stimulates our growth as human beings. It's a master teacher of who we are. Pain's a messenger of what's ready to be healed within you. Pain stimulates our growth in a way that it can be a motivator. It can spark creativity. And it can be fuel to our purpose. Pain reconnects us with our community and brings us back to union with God. Rumi said, "The wound is where the light enters." What if we stopped being so afraid of pain? What if we looked at it as a gift? Would we be able to sit in it and learn from it? There's an old Buddhist saying that says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So if suffering is an option, how do we stop suffering? I believe the way out of suffering is to surrender and courageously face the pain that we have hidden. And also to get better at facing it as it comes, to be like the buffalo that faces the storm because it knows it will get through it faster. Facing your pain requires you to let go, to embrace the unknown, to trust uncertainty, and to be vulnerable. We all process pain differently. What I need is different than what you need. And so it's essential for you to get to know yourself and get to know your needs and let your intuition guide you through your own process. I have found in my work 5 common principles that help us in processing pain. The first principle is the pathway to healing is through you. You are the healer. You've got all the answers within you. I used to hear that all the time, and then finally it clicked. It's all within us. We might try to look for answers outside of ourselves, but we will never find them. They're all within us. Processing our pain requires presence instead of living in the past or the future, being grounded in the present moment. And it also requires us to be able to practice listening, active listening. I invite you all to do a practice every single day, every morning. Just place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and ask, how is my body? How is my heart? How is my mind? And what do I need? And then listen. By asking yourself what your needs are, you'll find your own medicine. Everyone's medicine's different. But to find your medicine, you've got to ask, what do I need to heal my pain? The simple act of becoming aware of your needs will lead you to healing. The second principle is self-care restores trust within. Something happens when you start loving yourself more, when you start caring for yourself. You realize you are the medicine. Our bodies have this healing blueprint. Our bodies were designed to heal themselves. I tell my kids all the time they're like the Wolverine. And so really, all we have to do is tap in and pay attention and meet our own needs. And by doing that, we can reverse the cycle of pain. I have found self-care to be the fastest hack to processing pain. The third principle is feel it to heal it. What emotions are you resisting feeling right now? What if you gave yourself intentional space to just feel and remove all the judgment, all the shame attached to feeling? Instead, offer yourself more grace. Give yourself permission to feel everything and validate your feelings. Emotions are like waves. They come, sometimes really strong, and then they go. You don't have to be afraid of feeling your emotions. It's safe to feel them. When we practice processing our emotions and feeling our emotions, we increase our capacity for empathy and compassion, both towards ourselves and others. The fourth principle is pain happens for us. What are some of the gifts that came from your pain? When we start practicing seeing gifts that come from pain, we realize pain's not happening to us, it's happening for us. Gifts that come from the pain look like people who came into your life that wouldn't have, or new directions, new opportunities, new door openings that happened because of the pain, new tools you found, or new awareness you gained, strengths that were born from the pain, boundaries that were made, bad habits that you were forced to break, all because of the pain. It's all happening for us. When I wrote down all the gifts that came from my mother's death, I was in awe of how much grace has been given to me through the pain. The last principle is surrender brings freedom. What are you ready to surrender? Accepting what is and releasing what no longer serves you is an act of self-love. We cannot grow if we don't change, and we can't change if we don't let go. The better you get at letting go, the less you will suffer. You can free yourself. When we practice these principles and we really take intentional time to feel and process pain, we turn our pain into power and our wounds into wisdom. When I was pregnant with my second child, I decided to do a home birth, and I loved it. I started labor and went 10 hours strong, and then all of a sudden the labor just stopped. And I was pretty devastated because at the hospital, they would give you a drug to keep the labor going. At home, you have to wait, and mine never started back up. My sisters had the idea to dance. So at 9.5 months pregnant, I put on my clogging shoes, and we danced our way through the pain that night. I waited another 10 days to have my daughter start coming back in. My true love took 32 more hours of labor before she made her grand entrance into this life. It was not an easy delivery, but I can say she was more than worth the pain. What past pain in your life has become more than worth it? If you're suffering right now and you're carrying a load and you're in a lot of pain, God sees you. You're not alone. And I know that your soul knows the way out. The pain you're feeling can't compare to the joy that is coming. Romans 8:18. I'm so grateful for the pain that led me to my purpose, and that through pain, I have experienced so many miracles, including my brother healing and coming home after 18 years of heroin addiction. The definition of hope is patiently waiting for something expected. I'll finish my talk with a prayer. It's the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer, and it's a prayer I use every single day in the process of forgiving myself for causing myself so much pain. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Thank you so much.